video. I'm out here waiting internet installed real quick, so pardon me if I'm in the dark. Trying to get that high speed internet, get that Google fiber shit going, because this slow internet shit is not the business. But anyway, I wanted to address something real quick, or just have a conversation. So Master Teacher One just posted, and definitely subscribe to this channel. Dude has a bachelor's degree in economics, all of that good stuff. So if you want to talk about finance and keep it black-ish, but not on some highbrow stuff, he's definitely a good thing, a dude to check out. And y'all really turned me on to him, so most of y'all already know. So anyway, and I would definitely, if you already subscribed to him, definitely go to his community tab, and then make sure you put comments in the post so he can put up more posts and stuff like that. Make sure you post what you think about it. So Master Teacher is on the schools of thought that's against credit. Dave Ramsey is like one of the first people I've ever encountered that was really like that. And I understand the mentality, but at the same time, I don't look at credit as like the dark side of the force. I look at it's how you use it. It's a tool. And the problem is, what I will admit, and I'm gonna say this up front, two things I'm gonna say up front. Understand, I'm a thinker. I don't have a bachelor's degree in economics. I definitely delve into stuff when it comes to money. I'm more of an affiliate. I can give people information that don't know information. I can tell people where to get information from as far as people that know more than me. This is why you've always heard me reference Erica Shauna Williams, who has multiple businesses, multiple results, and lead by doing. This is why you've always heard me refer to Glenn and Cameron. Master Teacher One has a bachelor's degree in economics. I believe it's in economics, and he's going for a graduate degree. He's a guy that lives overseas, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is my opinion, but I'm not going to sit here and act like what I'm saying, I have the same credentials to match what he's doing. I'm not going to say that. So I just want anybody to come across this video. Definitely, I'll put his link in the description. Go through it, hear what he has to say. And like I said, Dave Ramsey is a financial expert as well, and he is absolutely against credit also. But I'm more of the Glenn and Cameron school of thought, which Glenn and Cameron is not necessarily pro credit. He talks more about business credit, anything, but he's definitely pro, and he understands it's a tool, and I understand it's a tool. And the problem is how the majority of Americans, let alone Black Americans, use credit is why, if you really look at it, I understand where he's coming from, because how the majority of Americans use credit, how Black Americans in particular use credit, is not in a way that is a tool. So what I'm saying, there's very few people that actually use credit in the way that I'm talking about. Very few people. There are very few people who have a financial mindset, Americans in general, let alone Black Americans. So in that sense, he would be right. That's why I said yes or no. Because if you're going to say, okay, I need to give somebody an opinion, and I don't have time to really go deep into it, then yes, I would tell them to steer away from credit. And then if they're actually going to be smart about how to use it, they'll come, if they really need it, then they'll come around to doing it a responsible way. So I get that mentality. So this is not here to disclose that. However, that being said, the biggest issue on this, and you know how I hate talking about education. I hate that because I think that's a deflection, but this is true. People are not educated on how to use credit. And this is the one thing I gotta bring up. You all know how I feel about Tone Talks. I don't really like the rhetoric he puts out there. But I will say one thing that he has said that I agree with is he always talks about how Black America has a false sense of who they are, and a false sense of how much money how much money they have because of borrowing money. And it's not just borrowing money. You could look at government subsidization, and a lot of this stuff leads to a lot of, if you go back to why Black men and Black women don't get along, or Black women, quite frankly, don't get along with Black men, because that's really what it is. I'm not going to make this about a gender video, but the truth is, Black women do not get along with Black men. It is not that Black men don't get along with Black women. We are much more capable of putting up with their shit than they are tolerating what we do. And you take sex off the table, a lot of Black women don't even like dealing with Black men like that. So that's really what the issue is. So people always make it like it's a 50-50 situation, and it's not. Anyway, that's a whole nother video, but which I'll get to. Also, I want to promote. I'm probably going to try to reach out to Sub Zero because I want to get Sub Zero's opinions on the NFL. Talk about Kaepernick, or at least NFL players now. They haven't apologized to Kaepernick. I want to get like Kaepernick like a year later thing with Sub Zero, because Sub Zero has talked about the stuff briefly. Kaepernick has taken some stances that not only Sub Zero but even Tariq Nasheed has not been able to really co-sign, because he's really gone after the LGBT money and stuff like that to be co-opted. Even though he hasn't outwardly said that, they definitely have sponsored him, and that's something to be looked at as suspect. But outside of that, when it comes to the point, when you look at like why the getting on your knee happened, and I remember what people were saying about how he was playing, all this stuff. Now that the NFL is trying to revisit that, I'm not going to let the NFL off the hook, and then it's time to revisit that in the manosphere too. Because I think in the moment, people always want to say certain rhetoric, and as time goes on, folks are either going to be proven right, proven wrong. So anyway, that's a little bit of promotion. Check that out later this weekend, because I got to contact him. I don't know if he'll be available. I don't know. So I'm just saying that's what I'm aiming to do. Definitely want to get BGS on it. Whatever. I don't know. But Sub-Zero the main person I want to get on that. And obviously MOT as well in that conversation. That being said, back to what we're talking about. So my thing is, when I'm in that group, and when I talk about finance, the three things I generally talk about is how to make money, how to keep money, and how to make money, how to flip money, how to keep money. Part of credit is leverage. And it's in credit, number one, credit is not just about you using credit cards. A lot of jobs, high level jobs that you get, they're gonna look at your credit score. They're going to look at your social media now, and they're going to look at your credit score. But the credit score they've always been looking at. They're going to look at how you deal with finances. So the truth is, if you're getting a degree and your credit is trash, that can be a maker or breaker, especially when you're in a competitive thing. Because that's a way of them saying, are you a stable person? Especially in the era of necessarily marriage, you don't have to be married unnecessarily now. That's something they're going to be looking at that's going to be more prominent than it's ever been. Also, things become more expensive. Life is more expensive when your credit sucks. You know, you're paying more for cars. You're not able to move money around. It's a lot of things you can't do than if you have your finances right, you can do. Now, people will say, well, then the answer to that is just make more money. Yes, it is. But at the same time, no matter how much money you have, your ability to leverage money, whether it's short term or long term, is better. We also have to understand black people do a lot of payday loans. There's a lot of things that black people are doing that even if their credit was decent, they were taught to have decent credit and taught how to establish decent credit. Because that's another thing. The folks are not taught that. And by the way, going back to the Glenn and Cameron video, I shared a video on in the I'm gonna put it as a post, but I put it as a comment link, because this is where Glennon was talking about credit in America and how America is with credit. So he was agreeing with Master Teacher. But at the same time, Glennon talks about how to build business credit as well as personal credit, and lots of it, because he understands that if you're going to, it's just like good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is consumer debt. Good debt is debt that you're using as a leverage point, that you're actually making more money off of. And the reality of the situation is that you will speed up what you're trying to do if you have that stuff going on. You will. So it doesn't matter if you're gonna use credit to like buy a whole bunch of stuff. It matters. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. If you're doing content creation or you're doing digital marketing and you need to get an iMac, you need to get all these things. If you're serious about doing it, I'm not saying to put all that on credit, but what I am saying is, as a business, you do an LLC. You don't even gotta do LLC. You can deduct all of that. And the thing about it is, yes, I'm not saying to over leverage yourself, because that can happen. And by the way, people do that in school all the time on degrees that they don't need, which is, and he's Master Teachers talked about that briefly. So the point is to understand your debt to income ratio. The point is to understand these things at different levels. Everybody is not every people are at different levels, and the higher you go up the income scale, the less people you're dealing with. So I like one of my brands that I want to start is the Just Start brand. Just Start. And the thing is, you need to know what you need to know in the Just Start. You need to know the pitfalls. So it's kind of like saying that credit is bad and pay for everything in cash. That's not smart. That's not like that. That is not smart, because what it does is it makes things take a lot longer than it needs to. Now, if you have money that you're bringing, like, I'll say this: if you live, like, let's say you live in the South and you make like 40,000 or more. Okay, at that point, there's things that you can probably do that can open up your income. But even still, unless you got like a whole bunch of disposable income, credit is not necessarily a bad thing. Folks just have to hammer what not to do with it. That's the thing, and that's never talked about. Folks, like I remember when I was growing up, nobody told me that if when you get credit, like I didn't even have a whole bunch of credit cards. That's not actually what hit me up. I got a loan, and that's what actually hit me up. But the point is, you folks are not talked about, like, certain like life. When I say life skills, I'm really talking about life benchmarks. Getting a house. Hell, even you getting married. Let's be clear here. You could get married and fuck up your shit a hell of a lot more than you can just get credit. Because understand, if you marry somebody with bad debt and they divorce, all that shit is gonna fuck with you too. Their shit becomes your shit. Like, you marry somebody that's in college and she has college debt and you don't, maybe because you're in the blue collar field. That doesn't happen like that, but you get what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden you're partially on the hook for what she does. America loves making men accountable to what females do. So there's a lot of, again, I'm all for talking about the pitfalls. I would definitely like to have a conversation, me, maybe a couple other people. Like, shout out to Carl the Tactician, shout out to Ramil. I actually don't know how they feel about this. Um, Shout out to MOT. I definitely would love to have a conversation about this with with him. I definitely would like to have it. All right, appreciate it. 1 second, y'all. Anyway, all right, make sure y'all get them likes up. And like I said, don't think we don't notice when the view count's always down when we talk about some business shit. That's the shit that folks be talking about. Um, that's why you don't hear it more. But the ones that are here, that's cool, because like I'm definitely gonna start aiming for that more. Because those viewers, I'm not saying one viewers are more valuable than others, but folks that they're interested in the business stuff are usually folks that are willing to pop their money up for some endeavors. Because I definitely have some stuff that I'm definitely gonna start putting out there, and that'll be something I put out there on Classic Black Men. But anyway, like I was saying before, um, yeah, it's a discussion, and I think it's a warranted discussion. I think it's a discussion that affects. It's like one of these discussions that affects no matter what level in the manosphere you are. Because here's the thing: let's say you do make 80, 90,000. Let's say you make a lot of money. Let's say, which I ain't saying that's, you get what I'm saying. Let's say you make money where you got your shit together, all that. The thing too is that you could be exposed to is lifestyle spending. And that's what people don't really think about. That's the thing, and you don't really hear dudes do that, but a lot of times dudes will lifestyle spend because that's a way to attract bitches. It's like a way of creating an environment around yourself, which actually is not stupid if you're efficient about doing it. That actually attracts women just based on things. This is where people. It's not just the car. It's an overall package, and it kind of like is light to a flame. So, let's see what y'all got to say about this. Alpha Trucker, shout out to you. And if you're not subscribed to, if you're not on Master Teacher shit, get in that Think Financials group, because that's definitely the type of stuff we want to hear, especially, you being a truck driver, because that's another thing. Truck drivers have a lot of disposable income. And I think low key, if truck drivers, especially in the black markets, truck drivers truck drivers are probably one of the most valuable audience of like, now I think in the manosphere, but I think in like a lot of things, because you all have disposable income and you have income that can be used to put into other things to flip it. And I think there's not a it's not enough emphasis put on dudes that are in the trucking industry with their CDLs and stuff like that. Folks are not really thinking about that. I think Erica has got that market really cornered in the manosphere, not just the manosphere, but like that audience, because of she does trucking herself as far as managing that. Well, okay, so Reign the Dream, and I don't want to take this video off of what is topic, but here's the issue: we're not talking about. See, the problem is because he says I don't have problems with black women, nigga. You ain't every black man. That's first of all. Second of all, so if you say you don't have problems with black men, are you telling me that black men as a collective group don't have problems with black women? Because if that's the case, then what are we talking about? Why are the marriage rates what they are? Why is the single motherhood what they is? Why is all the complaints that black women have for black men? We're talking about as a group. So when you talk about individual, I'm not talking about individual shit on that. That's a group problem. And the reason why microeconomics is individual financing and individual situations, macroeconomics is collective things and collective trends. It's like saying the stock market is great. The stock market is booming in the last 5-6 years, right? But you never win in the stock market. Well, that doesn't mean the stock market sucks. That's a you issue. It's the same thing in reverse. So when dudes say that, it's like, so what does that mean? Anyway, well, Ty City, well, no, in Ty City, this is what needs to be understood. You have to understand that business talk, most of the better business channels are better channels that do that. They're more like self-improvement channels, lifestyle channels, kind of like what Master Teacher did. What he did was very smart. He looped in the travel shit with the finance stuff. And I talked about how he did that. It works together. And even channels that are more business related, they tend to go about it in a different in kind of a similar way, but it tends to be more lifestyle talk, and then how to get to the lifestyle. So usually the folks that have the bigger channels, refusing to settle is a great one. I got like a lot of them. What they tend to do is they tend to talk about the life that, it's not even so much them gassing up the life that they live in, but you see it. So it's disclosure, not necessarily them telling you. It's you seeing it, and then they give into the lifestyle things, and they may talk about sales and talk about this, but it's not dry. And there's a thing for the dry shit, because the dry shit usually is the actual information. So anyway, but yeah, Ty City, no. And if you want it, like, I definitely, I might reach out to him, because I think this is something, it's not something where it's like a right or wrong, but it's definitely something where there's two schools of thought, and there's things that you can pull from both schools. Absolutely. Anyway, y'all, I put out my net. I don't want to make this video an hour. So with that being said, this is Edward signing off. Peace.